carbs. But when you get that hunger craving and you start craving microgreens, like that's when you know that your brain is you're on a different wavelength now. Like you've leveled up. So that makes a big difference too. Like when you want to eat those good foods. Because one thing I've learned is you can heal from everything. If you are determined enough, if you take it serious enough, if you're doing the right things, you can heal from essentially everything. So, physical, mental.
Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life. Hey, health junkies. On this episode of the Health Fix podcast, I'm interviewing Nick Craciun. In early 2021, Nick was struggling with depression, low energy, and an unhealthy lifestyle while working in a machine shop. And he discovered Chemical-Free Body with Tim James. And this ignited his journey into holistic wellness and detoxing, nutritious foods, and even got him into growing microgreens. Even despite a serious injury in July of 2022, Nick stuck with his commitment to health and really believes that it doesn't matter what's going on with you, you can heal from anything. And in this podcast, we're going to talk about his injury. We're going to talk about his comeback. We're going to talk about how he was golfing with broken ankles. We're even going to be talking about cantaloupe microgreens, because that's another one of his business, is growing microgreens and teaching others how to do it too. We're talking about portable saunas, acupressure pads. We're talking about no pharmaceuticals for this guy after his severe accident and how he overcame his pain. And then we're going to round it off with the taste bud washing effect that's been happening with flavoring agents. And we're going to dive into different kinds of products with Chemical-Free Body that Nick is helping folks with, supporting folks with, because he is the customer service manager over there. And you can actually talk to him as a real person. So nevertheless, Nick's a wealth of knowledge, but also just a really great inspiration. And he has a fantastic story for you today. So let's jump into the podcast. Nick Craciun, welcome to the Health Fix podcast.
Hello.
Hey, so fun stuff you got going on. I mean, I love talking about anything chemical-free body, but also anything that we can do to help keep our bodies nice and clean and detoxing themselves naturally. And of course, we're going to get into some nitty-gritty with microgreens and some of my drama and how you've already helped me before we even hit record as to what to do about that situation. But before we dive into microgreens and all that stuff, I always got to go into the story. We know in early 2021 you were struggling with some stuff. Give us the scoop. How did things play out? And then how did you discover Chemical-Free Body and all the microgreens and things of that nature?
Yeah. So, going way back, my first like health issue was essentially depression from about 14 on until about 27, 28. Dealt with pretty bad depression, drug use in my early 20s, trying to self-medicate and all that. Obviously didn't work. So basically just led to the point, basically just surviving through most of my 20s until I got to 27, 28, which at that time I did find a pharmaceutical drug that actually worked at that time to basically just get me out of bed, Wellbutrin. And obviously, it's not the best way to go, but at that time I had nothing. I didn't have any of my health knowledge now. I didn't know anything natural. So, and that worked. It got me out of bed, but that gave me the motivation to get my health better. Which really it didn't come till about 2 years later. It was early 2021. After COVID, I was doing obviously a lot of research with COVID and all that stuff. And I was just listening to a podcast. It was actually Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli, conspiracy podcast. And Tim was on it, and his message just really, really resonated with me. It just clicked. And I was like, this guy gets it. This guy knows what's up. So I went and I bought a few products. I started with our super detox bundle, which is basically just our greens and gut and toxin detox. And after that first month, it was like, I felt totally different. I felt like my brain was clicking for the first time. My gut was functioning. Because at that time, I was still on the pharmaceutical drugs. I wasn't depressed, but I was still on the pharmaceutical drugs and wanted to get off them. I was drinking multiple Red Bulls a day. I wasn't eating good, just not living a healthy life, working in the machine shop. So breathing in chemicals and metal and all that stuff. Um, yeah, after I found Tim, I started doing that. It was totally life changing. I got the products, I used them for a month. I started doing weekly group coaching. That was huge too, and I just kept learning a lot. I listened to every single podcast he put out and was taking notes all the time because when I was at work, it was just kind of mindless machine shop job, so I can listen to podcasts, take notes, and it really, really helped. I basically just did this continuous thing where I was just cutting out bad, adding in a good. I went very, very slow with it. But it was about 5 months later, just after adding in, cutting out, I was able to. I literally had to wean myself off of Red Bull. I was drinking 2 Red Bulls a day for years. At my peak, maybe like 2017, I was drinking 5 Red Bulls a day.
Oh
It was
man.
nuts. It was nuts. So I got myself off the Red Bulls, and that's when about that time is when I started growing sprouts. I just started really simple, just started in jars, and I mean, right off the bat, I knew basically with my first jar that it was something I wanted to do and to sell and share with people. And so, I just kept going with that. I just kept that in the back of my head. I'm like, I know someday I want to do something with this. But at that time, I was still living at my parents. I didn't have a room at all to set up, a big microgreens grow area. So it was literally just a little pot and just really basic stuff to start, and then sprouts and jars. Yeah, and then that just kind of kept going, kept going. I was growing them regularly. I was so excited to wake up in the morning and check on the sprouts and see how they were doing and water them and all that. Like it was really exciting for a bit. And yeah, I just kept going with that. I got a new job at a different machine shop, and about 6 months into that, it was July 2022. I had a really bad injury. The 3-ton block that I was machining, I unbolted it from the platform, and it basically came right down and fell on my feet.
Okay.
But luckily, I was on this raised platform, so if I was on concrete, my feet would have been smushed and it would have been done. But I was on this raised platform, so it kind of pushed my feet down on this platform, and they were definitely crushed pretty bad. But by literally the will of God, I don't know, but 6 people and a tow motor were able to get this 3-ton metal block off of my feet enough so I could pull myself out. Um, but my feet were pretty bad. I went to the hospital and all that. But when I was in the hospital in the emergency room, they put me under, and I wasn't totally gone. I like left my body for a little bit, and I had this realization that like this was meant to happen. On some level, this was meant to happen. I wasn't because I didn't enjoy my machine job. It wasn't my highest passion. So I was able to, get out of that essentially. And it was like, I don't know if I'm speaking to my higher self, speaking to God or whatever, but it was basically this moment of you weren't doing what you're meant to be doing. This is gonna hurt for a little while, but it's gonna lead to the next part of your life. And from that point on, like obviously I was in a lot of pain. By far the worst pain of my life after that. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, didn't walk for 3 months, but I was just so positive throughout the whole thing. I had to like calm everybody around me because everyone wanted to call and come in the hospital and visit me, be like, "Oh, Nick, I'm so sorry. This is so terrible. I don't know if you're gonna walk the same." And I'm like, "I'll be fine. I'll be good. Give it a couple months. I'll go out there and be golfing again." Literally 2 weeks after I started walking again, I went onto the golf course and I shot like 38. So like I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be good. I had to get out there because it was like late October. It was getting cold. I'm like, I have to get out there and know that I'll be fine. And like I was just so positive after that. I'm like, if I can golf with broken ankles, I'll be golden. So that just kind of kept recovering, going from there. And then that next February 2023, Tim asked me to work for him because I was still doing the coaching with him and all that. Um, and yeah, that kind of just took me on to the next part. And that March of that year was when I officially opened the microgreens business. Started selling at farmers markets, created my own website. I try to get people on subscriptions around here, but my area is like it's not the healthiest area. They don't care as much about like the premium healthy stuff. So I'm trying. I still do well at the farmers markets, but yeah, and that's just kind of taken me where I am now. Just kind of keep improving, just trying to get more greens in more places. uh, Kind of go from there. But I've fully recovered with my feet. I walk the golf course a lot in the summer. I go to the gym at least a couple times a week, and yeah, just kind of living that life and improving and going from there, trying to build chemical-free body and help other people with their health.
Man, what a story. I couldn't imagine having something fall on my feet. Um, I can't even imagine. And to be positive after that, I would imagine, you probably had some days where you were just like, oh man, what
There were
just
definitely
happened?
a few days when like when I got home And because I was stuck in the wheelchair, obviously, I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't go downstairs. I did have a little like small greenhouse upstairs where I can grow like 8 trays of microgreens. So like that was my thing. I was still growing the microgreens, wheeling around and, you know, cleaning them and watering them and doing all the stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's 3 months of that. I was just kind of sitting, watching a lot of TV, unfortunately, reading books, just trying to get through the days until I was ready to go. But yeah, I made it through. It was, some parts were a struggle, but I definitely made it through all right.
What were some of the parts of Tim's program that helped you in that time frame? Because I heard you say you were still in the program. He offered you a job, so clearly you were in there, soaking up some more knowledge as you were going through. Because I'm just thinking like, maybe folks haven't had as drastic of an accident like you did, but I know that there's a lot of people who have mystery illness, right? They have no idea why they're sick. There's plenty of people who've had accidents. What kind of nuggets did he have for you that you found most helpful as you're going through your journey?
There were so many. I mean, it seemed like every single meeting we had, there was something key that I had written down and was like, this is important. But I really think mentality, it comes so much back to mentality. Like if you don't have that disciplined mentality to heal and that drive to heal and learn more, it's going to be tough. And I think the biggest issue we have with a lot of people today is that discipline. They say, oh, I want to prove, I want to heal, I want to do this, but they fall back into that. And I've obviously had my cases of that happening too. It's not, I'm far, far, far from perfect, but it's just kind of just keeping up with it, just going through every day, okay, this week, what can I get rid of that is not good, and what can I add in that was good? And just kind of week by week take that and just take your health seriously. And, you have to listen to your body too. A lot of people don't have that ability to listen to their body, know what their body's telling them. So you really have to kind of take that in and like, okay, I ate this food, I didn't feel great. I'm going to cut it out and not eat it anymore. Or I ate this big bowl of sprouts, I felt great. I'm going to start eating a bunch of sprouts again. So, stuff like that. There's very rarely the one big thing that it's like, oh, this is it. This is going to totally turn your life around. It's usually a whole bunch of small lifestyle things. As Tim calls it, stacking the cards in the deck of health. So you just continuously adding those cards in, just and eventually get to the point where you got a huge stack of stuff you're doing that, and you're feeling great. So that's kind of how I take it.
Nice, nice. I think that's a good point because I think a lot of people, I mean, let's face it, beginning of the year, they do their New Year's resolutions. They've got these big, big goals. They bite off some hefty stuff, right? And I
Yeah.
think with anything, we overlook the little things that make a difference. Now, did you make a little chart of like, didn't do well with this, did okay with this? Or what habits helped you or didn't? Any organizational stuff that you found helpful? Because I think for a lot of people, sometimes it's hard to remember because they'll disconnect from the brain a little bit and they'll remember for 2 seconds and then it's over.
Yeah. So one of the big things I did every day for years was and I still do it, but I've more switched to just prayer rather than this practice, but I still do it here and there. But I would wake up every single morning, no matter what, and would write down everything I'm grateful for and my goals. And just kind of kept with that. Like, okay, I would have basically some short-term goals, some long-term goals. Like, okay, what am I going to do this week to do better? What am I going to do in the next year to do better? Things like that. That just that alone has a big shift in your mentality. But I also would write, when I first started like really improving my health, I basically would keep like a little journal of like, okay, what did I eat this day? Did I exercise this day? Where did I go this day? How did I feel the next day? Just like a little journal like that, just to see, especially with food, because people can have different reactions to different foods. Like some people might respond to plant oxalates and not be able to eat a lot of almonds or something like that and cause issues. So it's just kind of important to, especially if you're changing things, to keep track of, okay, I ate this, I felt this way, and then just kind of go from there because everybody's body's different. There's a lot of generalization diets out there. And for me, it's just like if you're eating the highest quality food you can find, whether, okay, maybe carnivore works for you, maybe vegan works for you, but if you're doing carnivore and you're eating processed food, processed meat like lunch meats and pepperoni and stuff like that, you're not going to do great. If you're eating vegan and you're eating the processed fake meat stuff, like you're not going to do great. So what I always tell people is like when you find out it works for your body, just eat the highest quality stuff you can get. If you're going to go vegan or you're going to, at least partially consume vegetables, definitely start growing your own. Start growing sprouts, start growing microgreens, stuff like that.
I mean, sage advice. One of the things, that we of course mentioned and you gave me some tips on microgreens. I'm sprouts I can handle. They don't seem to
Mm,
have too much trouble. But dang those
yeah.
microgreens every time I was saying I get mold on mine every time. And now I've moved from Wisconsin or from Washington to Wisconsin. So I know it's not Washington because I was blaming it on Washington there for a while. So let's talk about microgreens for a minute. Like, let's talk about why people want to be thinking about growing their own microgreens, other, like, and different reasons why to seek out microgreens. And then we'll go into some of the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the not obvious answer besides the health benefits is basically you're growing something, you're taking care of life. And that was huge for me to start because I never grew anything. I never, built stuff or did stuff like that. And it was like that was my first foray into this thing of growing something, creating something essentially. And that was really powerful on itself. Just getting excited to wake up and like watch them grow a little bit and stuff like that. But yeah, they done studies. Basically, they're 4 to 40 times as nutritious as fully grown vegetables. There was a big study, I think it was 2014. They tested like 20 different ones, and which ones had these nutrients, which ones had these nutrients. Stuff like pea and sunflower really high in protein. They found red cabbage really high in vitamin C. Stuff like that. But definitely the nutrient benefits, and also the fact that you're taking, you're not getting blueberries shipped in from Peru or something like that. You're literally going, into a room, cutting some broccoli sprouts or some cabbage or something, and putting them in your salad or putting them on a sandwich and eating them. So it's like that's still alive. It's still living food. It has all that life force energy in it, on top of obviously all the nutrients and phytochemicals and everything else that you get. So they're just true nutrient life force powerhouses. And you can tell because one of the biggest things I do that I do every single day, no matter what, is I juice sunflower, pea, and grasses, which I moved on from wheatgrass. I try to just avoid conventional United States wheat in general, and I've moved to spelt and kamut grass,
Hmm.
which I think even tastes a little better, has like that little sweeter taste. But yeah, that's my juicing trio that I do every day, on top of taking our green 85 and stuff like that. So
I was going to ask if your products are going into the Green 85 at all, if any of
no.
the microgreens.
No, no, I'm not that big. I mean, I just got a room set up downstairs. I can grow 60 trays at a time, but usually I'm growing closer to like 30 to 40.
Gotcha.
Just sell to markets. I sell to a few grocery stores. It's not huge yet. It's definitely my little side thing. I just enjoy doing it. It's just become part of my life. It basically funds my habit of how many I'm going to eat. So, because I always got to have some, so it makes it easier.
Why not, right? Why not build it into a business? Now, one of the things that I had mentioned, the mold thing, and you had said
Yes,
peroxide and seed quality. Let's talk
yes,
about that because some folks might be listening right now and maybe have been in the same boat as me and been like, yeah, Nick, I have to go buy, my microgreens all the time. I can't grow myself because I keep getting issues like
yeah.
mold.
Very common. Very common. Because I've talked to people at farmers markets like, oh, I tried doing this and I got mold and I gave up. And it's like, man, if I gave up when I got mold, I wouldn't have made it very, very far because that's definitely a major, major issue when you're starting. So I was getting mold issues with sunflower and pea from True Leaf, and I was getting very frustrated. Like, multiple in a row. Like, oh, I bought this 25-pound bag of seeds. The seeds are terrible. No matter what I did, every tray was mold. I get another bag replacement, same thing. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I'm trying to run a business here. So I found another company that started up just around that time called Greener Harvest Seeds.
Okay.
They just be greenerharvestseeds.com. They're much, much smaller. I mean, they've grown a lot in the past year and a half. When I first started getting them from, they had like 10 varieties of seeds. Now they have probably 30 or 40. You can buy trays off them. They have microgreens grow resources. So they're definitely growing and improving, which is really cool to see. But as soon as because I got sunflower from them to try out, and you could just tell looking at the seeds, they were much darker, like actually black looking. Sometimes the ones from True Leaf, they'd have like weevil damage. They're almost like brown looking. You
Hmm.
could just tell the seeds were not as high quality. But as soon as I switched to the greener harvest seeds, it was night and day difference. Like I would have to really screw up to get mold with those sunflower seeds. You had to like try. Like if you didn't clean the trays or something like that, and yeah, it was like tough to try to get mold on them. But yeah, also the hydrogen peroxide thing. So what I do for that is I get a 30%, like a gallon of 30% hydrogen peroxide, and then I dilute it down to about 3%. And then every single time I water, I just add that in the water. So when I do the initial spraying on the top, I don't measure it out. I usually just put like a little dash, just take a gallon jug and I just pour a dash of 3% in, pour it in the water that I pour underneath. And since I've done that, I mean, no issues. It's extremely, extremely limited.
Hydrogen peroxide is a miracle stuff. I mean, back in the
Yeah,
day, mom used it, burned a little bit, but it definitely prevented infections then. So why wouldn't it, help us out on a little mold overgrowth or gosh knows whatever else could happen there. That's
exactly.
awesome. That's awesome. So so you got a blend that you're talking about that you juice in the morning. What's your favorite? Like if say let's say if someone's like, I don't know, green stuff. I'm dipping my toes in trying to like these things. Which one
Mhm.
would you say someone should try in terms of like your favorite entry level microgreen?
I so a lot of like for the common ones, definitely sunflower.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe 2 to 3% of people that have tried sunflower were like, I'm not that crazy about it. But they might try another one like broccoli and like it. But definitely number one is going to be cantaloupe. Um, Cantaloupe microgreens, phenomenal. Like phenomenal. They taste like cantaloupe. They're really, really good. Now, I'm not growing them right now because I just can't get them to grow well in the winter. I'm actually having trouble growing sunflower right now. I'm in my basement and I have it all sealed off. I got the windows sealed off. I got a space heater down there. But even then, Northeast Ohio, it gets down to like 10 degrees at night. It gets pretty cold. So they're stunted growth a little bit. I have to start them like a day or two earlier to get the normal growth for my markets. But yeah, that's I would definitely say cantaloupe though. If it's warm enough, you got a warm enough space, cantaloupe is phenomenal. And once you get the technique down for it, there's a little different technique for cantaloupe as compared to others. Like you don't soak them. I usually bury them under a half inch of soil, water them real good. But
Nice.
that has been I don't even water underneath with those. If you're listening to this, you want to try growing cantaloupe, check out On the Grow on YouTube, their cantaloupe video. That's what I use. That's the technique I use, and it works phenomenally. I can use 50 grams of cantaloupe seed in a tray and get no mold, no issues. It grows great. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah, yeah. Cantaloupe's also probably my favorite to put in a smoothie. Really, really good in smoothies.
I like that idea because I like the flavor of cantaloupe, but I don't necessarily like the texture of it. So I'm like, huh, interesting. And
They're
nutrient profile is pretty good with the
Yeah,
green.
they're even good in salads. Like actually, like you put them in salad because they're still greens, so you put them in there and like you just the texture works in with everything, but you get that little burst of cantaloupe flavor, which actually works pretty well in a salad. It's pretty good.
Awesome. Awesome. Mind blown with cat. I had no idea that these even existed. This is super cool. This is super cool. I hope folks are learning something in this. I'm guessing they're not as mainstream. So that's cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I see behind you possibly a sauna back there. Is that what
yeah,
I'm seeing?
yes,
Let's talk about saunas for a minute. Uh,
yeah.
because they're so good for health and I'd love to hear your personal experience. Have you had it for a while? When did you start it?
I got it. So when I worked for Tim, I it was right around the same time where I got a little bit of cash for my injury, just like stuff like that. And I told him I was like, because I was just going off, I had to get off workers' comp to go work for him. And so,
Oh,
I was like, I got that last check, and I was like, you know what? I got a little bit of money because I really, really wanted the sauna. I wanted it for years, couldn't afford it, but I was like, you know, let's just make that my first month's pay. And so I was like, let's get it. So that's how I got it. And honestly, it's an absolute staple, especially in the winter. There's nothing better than waking up with like snow on the ground, house is still cold, you didn't have the heater on all night, hop in that sauna, and within a minute it's warm, and within 10, 15 minutes you're sweating. So it's phenomenal. The one we sell is it's far infrared.
mm,
So it's a higher wavelength than just conventional infrared. It gets deeper. it works phenomenally well. Like normally you sit in a regular sauna, it takes 30 minutes, maybe an hour to really get a good sweat. I mean, if you last 20 minutes in it, you're sweating, like you're dripping.
Nice.
So that's become definitely my morning routine and get in the sauna, go get a good shower after, and it's the best. And then I usually do before bed, I do because there's two different settings. There's like two blowers on it, and I usually do the half setting, and I do it for like 15 minutes before bed. Not so I'm sweating getting into bed, but just relax the body, and just hop in the bed and just go right to sleep. But it's definitely made a big difference, like detoxing wise, muscles wise, especially with my feet. Because obviously my feet are a mess, but you know, soreness definitely goes down. It's great. It's probably my favorite health device that I own out of everything. It's great.
Nice, nice. I love to hear personal stories about the saunas because I think a lot of people are still like, does it really work? But for my folks with
So
chronic pain or who have had major injuries, I mean, obviously it sounds like your feet were probably crushed. Yes,
yeah,
like all the bones.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a laundry list of bones that were broken in my feet and ankles. So yeah,
And there's a lot of bones in there. And then just to give folks a perspective, because I mean, this is your foundation, right, of how you walk, and so to be able to have that as a tool, huge, just so
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
And if you had to quantify for some folks who are like dealing with pain or having trouble recovering from workouts or whatnot, how much do you think it helps in terms of like muscle tension for you if you had to quantify it? Like, give us your.
Fantastic. That's one of the big things I do too. Is if I go work out in the mornings, I'll wait to sauna after I work out. If I go later in the day, then I just kind of get an extra sauna in, or maybe I just won't sauna before bed. It depends how tired I am before bed. If I'm really tired going to bed at 10 o'clock, then I'm just gonna go right to bed. I'm not gonna get in the sauna and just add it. But getting in the sauna after the workout is amazing. Like yesterday, I did a pretty good workout around like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Went home, sat in the sauna for 20 minutes, got a real good sweat. Today I'm not sore at all. Like I'm not sore at all. It basically gets that lactic acid out, so you're not getting that soreness. It's almost like getting a massage without getting a massage. Now, if you can get in the sauna and then get a massage after, oh, nothing tops that. Nothing tops that. No, I don't. I use just the one of those massage guns on myself.
Mhm.
So that I do the best I can with that. Obviously, I can't get every spot in my back or anything like that, and it's harder to relax when you're doing that, but it's still great. It's still really good. So,
Nice. Nice. What other kind of wellness practices did you start implementing since meeting Tim and working with the chemical free body folks?
well, I mean, basically everything I've been talking about is stuff I've started since Tim. The sprouts, microgreens, um, sauna, big one. I use they're like acupuncture like pads for my feet.
Hmm?
So I'll stand on those for like 15, 20 minutes. And one of my favorite things for that too is I use those and then I use magnesium lotion right after. So it is like my feet will feel like brand new after doing that. It feels amazing. Um, yeah, I forget the company we got those acupressure pads are from like Ukraine. They have a weird name. I can't remember offhand, but they're like little rubber pads that have tons of little tiny metal spikes in them. They're becoming more popular now. Yeah, it definitely is weird once you get used to like once you get started, but once you get used to it, it's just like you're just standing on it, and it feels great. Like it really does. After you get off, and you're like, oh, man. And then you massage your feet a little bit, move it around, gets those cracks and stuff. Oh, it's great. But especially combined with the magnesium. Magnesium is probably the most important micronutrient that people aren't getting enough of. I know I wasn't. I know that's a big reason I've had anxiety, depression, and all that because I was drinking energy drinks. I wasn't getting good exercise, wasn't, getting enough sunlight, doing all the things you shouldn't be doing, staring at screens too long. So the getting magnesium too, that was a really big one. But what else? I got an aqua cure for molecular hydrogen, which we're finding out may not be as great as we thought it was. We're still trying to figure out more with that. We might be having some issues with that. Tim's talking to a guy that just only does hydrogen,
Yeah.
and he's saying that the aqua cures may not be everything they're chalked up to be. So we're still trying to learn more about that and figure that out. But I've stopped using mine for about 2 weeks now, and I can't say I've felt worse or better, really. I just kind of almost feel the same. So that it's very odd. Yeah, what else? my grateful practice. I think that's really important. Prayer, meditation, that's really important, regardless of what religion you follow and all that. Like there is a creator God, some sort of being created this place, and we don't have anything without that. So we should be praying for him, give him thanks, and you know, we all have the goals and things we want to do in life, but sometimes God has, a different vision on what you should be doing. So, and I feel like my injury was like God telling me like, hey, you weren't doing the right things. Now you're going to go do the right things. And sometimes you just have to be open to it and accept it. Because a lot of people, when stuff like that happens, they really fight it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if my injury happened 2 years prior, you know, it could have been a total disaster. I could have got back on opiates, because I took opiates, years ago when I was in my early 20s. Not a good thing, obviously, but I was able to stay off them in the hospital. Everything I used was natural. So my trio that I used to basically deal with the pain from that was really high quality CBD. I was actually getting CBD flower. I was buying organic CBD flower online and making my own oils. I did occasionally smoke it once in a while. Just it was kind of relaxing. It definitely helped me relax and be able to chill out a little bit. Um, our turmeric product, oh man, I don't leave the house without my bottle of turmeric because it works within 5 minutes. Like if you're dealing with inflammation, pain, which I was dealing with a lot, that stuff is phenomenal. I would take it like 4 times a day. Made a huge, huge difference in just pain and just inflammation and everything. And then also at that time I was taking kratom, which I don't know if you've heard of kratom. It's basically a natural plant. It's a leaf. It's similar to opiate, but it's not quite an opiate. It works on the same receptors. But I was able to take just those and stay off the pharmaceutical drugs. Because I left the hospital with no pharmaceutical drugs, which to me that was more important than anything. Like I'll take whatever plant you got except opium, and I will, I'll do it. I don't want to do any pharmaceutical drugs. So they did give me morphine in the hospital. They would give the morphine shots every couple hours or something like that, but that didn't really work. But I didn't feel like great off it either. It was just like, oh, my foot feels slightly less in pain now. Great. And that was kind of it. I went home and I'm glad I was able to, because I just moved into this new house a month and a half prior to the injury. So it was like I wasn't even sure if I would be able to move around the house. Am I going to fit through the doors? I'm going to get in the bathroom, but I the wheelchair literally scraped the doors getting through. Like I have to slide through. I had to slide through, but it fit. I fit. I was able to get in the bathroom. I was able to get into the bed. So, and luckily at that time too, I was also in good physical shape. I was down in weight quite a bit because I was, I think late 2020, I was 225. And around the time of my injury, I was 155, 160. So that was really big. So I could move around. I could actually move myself around pretty easily with my arms and stuff like that. 'Cause I was golfing a lot, doing more energy. I was working a lot. So overall, I was stronger and was able to just maneuver everything. Because, like I said earlier, everyone was kind of freaked out. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to move around? You're going to have someone to care for you. And I'm like, no, please, just let me do it. And I was able to do it all myself. So I mean, obviously, I had my daughter. She helped quite a bit with the basic stuff and doing laundry, doing dishes, stuff like that. So that certainly helped too. But yeah, it was a journey. It was a journey.
Man, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. It's quite impressive. Now, you mentioned the turmeric, and a lot of people are hot on turmeric.
Yeah.
And some people do be using it and say, ah, this turmeric I got didn't work. Or, oh, I'm not sure about it. Now, I know that there's different delivery methods. I know there's different types. Talk about the chemical-free body one so that folks can hear a little bit and understand kind of what your guys' take is on it and how to get the most out of it.
Yes, it is. So our turmeric is a tincture. It doesn't need any black pepper, doesn't have any extra additives that are unnecessary. It works through the mucous membrane in your mouth. So you literally drop it in your mouth, one dropper, just swish it around for 30 seconds. It actually tastes good. It tastes like orange, which is a natural orange flavor too. There's nothing synthetic, nothing artificial in any of our products. But it generally tastes good. You get that little bit of bittery turmeric taste, but I've grown to like it over the years now. But Yeah, you're just switching around, and I mean, within 5 minutes, it's absorbing into your bloodstream because the biggest problem with turmeric is when you take it orally, normally like the powder or capsule, one, you have to take black pepper and quite a bit. And two, no matter what you do, you're just not going to absorb all of it, not even close to all of it. I don't know the exact thing, but I mean, that's an issue with a lot of things taken orally. You maybe absorb 10%.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, you're taking all this powder, all this stuff, but you're not really absorbing a lot of it. So with ours, since the molecules are so small and they absorb right through the mucous membrane in your mouth, you're absorbing all of it and straight into the bloodstream. So I mean, with 5 minutes, you feel it, you notice it. I give it to people with arthritis all the time. I gave a bottle to my chiropractor. He loves it. He wants to start carrying them and giving them to the patients and stuff. So yeah, we believe that we have the best turmeric product that you can get, really, because I don't know how to make it any better. It absorbs right in the mucous membrane of your mouth. It's totally clean ingredients. You don't need black pepper.
Yeah.
It's just great. It really is. It's probably my favorite regular product we sell outside of the greens.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm in the camp of less is more. Now, granted, I've had the chemical-free body greens. I had to get used to it because, of course, we're all brainwashed, or maybe let's not say brainwashed. Our tongues are taste washed. Let's
Yes,
let's go that
like
route.
that. That's very true too. That really does happen. Because I
Yeah.
noticed that over time with me, where like before I was like, oh, I want to eat whatever, crap there was. And now it's like, now I get excited for eating some microgreens or something like that. So your taste buds do change. Absolutely. Like how your brain, there's almost like it's definitely a brain reaction to it. Like when you think about eating a food, like you get those hunger cravings or something like that. A lot of people crave sugar or carbs. But when you get that hunger craving and you start craving microgreens, like that's when you know that you're on a different wavelength now. Like you've leveled up. So that makes a big difference too. Like when you want to eat those good foods.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've had the chemical-free body greens, and we've been like, after coming off of one that was artificially flavored with stevia or something of that nature, you try them and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But it does seem that after time, like you said, you get used to it. And so I definitely want folks to kind of know that, it's like you said, your taste buds change because they've
Yeah.
been I'm gonna taste bud washing. I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Because
New term.
before I found the Green 85, I was taking athletic greens, which,
Mhm.
like a lot of people, I listen to a lot of podcasts and it seemed like every podcast I listened to, they were advertising athletic greens. I'm like, you know what? All right, I gave it a shot. The marketing worked, whatever. And I tried it, and I noticed a little bump up. I took it for like 2 months, and I mean, it was like it's expensive, and I was like, okay, I feel a little better. But when I looked at the ingredients like later on, it's like, oh, there's a lot of like psyllium husk and a lot of like the good ingredients. There was not a lot of stuff in there that wasn't the best impact. Which if you're taking nothing at all, you're not doing like any vegetables or you're not taking any supplements like that, it's definitely going to be better than nothing. But
Yes.
once I tried the Green 85, I was like, it's cheaper, it's much higher quality ingredients. Like I could just tell the overall well-being was just so much better taking that. So I just took it and stuck with it. I mean, the flavor, I think I'll tell you, the flavor is not going to be as like sweet or good as something like maybe Athletic Greens was, or something you can go buy at the store that's flavored with natural flavors. But the Green 85, I mean, it happened to me. It happened to a lot of people that have tried it. They may not like it for a week, but after that week, your body starts to crave it. You wake up in the morning looking forward to it. You don't look up, you're not looking forward to the coffee in the morning. You're looking forward to the Green 85. And we've had people that they stop drinking coffee in the mornings or at all because they take Green 85 and they feel better. They have more energy. They don't get a crash in the afternoon. So
Go
you're getting
figure.
all those nutrients that you need.
Go figure. Go figure. So
Yeah.
now that you're working with Tim, are you working on some of the coaching for folks? Because of course I want to kind of bring it full circle for folks to know how you fit in with Tim, and then also how we're going to talk about your microgreens and how to find you, and if they're in Ohio, because heck, you never know. Um,
Yeah.
so let's talk about Tim's program. Are you coaching in there? What are you up to in there?
So I'm not doing any official coaching.
Okay.
I'm basically the customer service guy. I manage all of our customer service stuff. So you call me. We don't have any AI. You call, it goes straight to me. Um, as long as my phone rings, sometimes we have an issue with the phone. not forwarding to my phone. I don't know. It's just a technical issue. But it goes straight to my phone. I answer, it's me, it's a real person. There's no buttons to push through or anything like that. You email me, there's no AI bot, it goes straight to me. But that's mainly what I do. I'd manage all the customer service stuff, which to me, in a way, that's kind of coaching because I get a lot of questions and stuff like that. And I'm able to give, certain advice and, obviously not medical advice and all that. I manage our inventory, so I do our orders and, making sure we have stuff in stock, communicate with manufacturers and all that stuff. So that's mainly what I do. I do stuff a little here and there. Like I've been trying to get more podcasts, tell my story, tell what I do and stuff like that. Because one of the biggest things I care about is just helping other people in a similar situation as me, mainly with depression and drug abuse and stuff like that. Because I mean, depression was a major part of my life for 14, 15 years. So, and I know how many people deal with it out there. I know how many people are working their jobs, slaving away at, for me, it was a machine shop or whatever it may be. You're listening to the podcasts, like you want to improve, but you don't know what to do. You don't know how to tr who to trust. And I guess I was lucky enough to find the right person that worked for me and clicked with me. I get told all the time that I sound like Tim. People think I'm his son or something. So it was just like I found the right person that would be essentially my mentor and, take me to the places I wanted to go. And yeah, that's what it's been for Tim. I obviously want to do more. I want to do whatever I can do. I'm trying to get involved more locally. I've given conferences and stuff locally. I spoke at a food security summit last year, which is amazing. It
Ooh.
was like I didn't know what it was going into it. I thought it was a little bit smaller deal. It was actually a really big deal. People were coming in from like 3 hours away for this conference, and I'm just like the little microgreens grower guy giving a speech, but everybody loved it. I mean, I spoke for a whole hour just talking about microgreens, growing your own food, how to be food secure. And I mean that was amazing. It was such a good time. I made so many connections from that. And then now I'm on this local healthy food retail team here in the basically the two-county area. And so I help try and get healthy foods in more stores. I try to get my microgreens in more stores, obviously, which it's tough with big corporate chains when I'm a small guy. Because really it's the quality that matters so much. And also food that's grown near you. Because it's grown in the same environment as you, it's breathing the same air as you. Food from Peru is in a totally different soil, totally different air than what you're eating here or what you get here. So just as close as you can get to your food is always going to be better no matter what. But yeah, if if you're in the Northeast Ohio area, I'll drive 45 minutes to drive to you. I do deliver. Um,
Wow.
so that's main. I mean, when I started setting it up, the main thing I wanted to do was basically I have my website and people can order, set up a subscription or something like that, and then I'll do like a big delivery route once a week or something like that. Hasn't worked out that way. It's kind of tough to get people to order online, let alone do a subscription for microgreens, but my farmers markets do well. So
Good. Good. Well, the Midwest is one is having lived in Washington State for probably half of my life, it's different. We've got a different vibe here in the Midwest with getting folks on board. That's why I do this podcast,
yes,
getting the
yeah,
word out because it's not going to get out with the main big box grocery stores. They're not going to try to tell you what's up. Um,
no,
here's
no,
this is what we got to do. It's what we got to do. So tell us. What is your microgreens company's name? And then let's go into Chemical Free Body, how they can just hit you up and say, "Hey Nick, what's up?" You
yeah,
know, and tell me
yeah,
more about these programs. Because I think for a lot of people, having a face and a name of someone that's actually going to talk to them when they have supplement questions, mind blown. Because we can't
hmm
even call the bank without
yeah,
having to talk to AI. So
yeah,
so huge. So give us the scoop. Let's your
yeah.
microgreens company so folks can learn about it. Tell us um all the chemical free body stuff too so that folks can dive in.
Yeah, so my microgreens company is called Creations Backyard. Um, and when I was doing my initial thing trying to figure out a name, and I don't like to use last names or names in companies. I was like, but as a placeholder, I had Creations Backyard, just my last name Backyard. And then someone misheard me and thought I said Creations Backyard. I'm like, that's it. That'll be the one. So went with that. I got my LLC and all that stuff, but Yeah, my website is www.creationsbackyard.com. You can email me directly, creationsbackyardllc@gmail. And I also have a Facebook. Um, so it's just Creations Backyard on Facebook. You'll see a little picture of my container. Another big thing too, I focus on with microgreens is I don't use plastic. I use plant-based, compostable, biodegradable packaging. Because that was a big thing. If you're buying hundreds of these plastic containers at a time and you're just putting more plastic in the world, like no amount of recycling is going to get rid of all this plastic. I don't think recycling is a great thing. I think it's kind of a scam to get people to use plastic more. But I just wasn't gonna do that. I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna add more things. I'm doing something healthy. Why would I put it in plastic and get microplastics in the food and all that? So that was a big thing to me. It obviously costs more, but that quality, I make sure my stuff is quality. I'm not just gonna pump stuff out just to do it. So if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. And that was a big thing for me.
Mm.
Um, yeah, with chemical free body though, it's just www.chemicalfreebody.com. My email would be nick@chemicalfreebody.com if you want to email me directly. And then the support email is just support@chemicalfreebody.com. And all that's on the website. You can see that there. The phone number to call me directly is 888-368-9898. And then I'll just go right to my phone and I can answer. If for some reason I don't answer, I'll always call you back. So
Nick, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love how available you guys are. I definitely can feel how committed you guys are to helping folks out. It's so important. We need stuff like this. And man, you're you're making me laugh. I'm still laughing about the plastic scam, and the recycle thing. Because when you
yeah,
watch the garbage truck put it in the same dump as
yeah,
the, you're like, I just separated that and you just put it in the same thing.
yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, it's like what's the point? And there's plenty. I think there's documentaries on it now, just like the whole how it's just BS to get people to feel better about using plastic. And then it's like, okay, if you're buying a product that's made with recycled plastic or God forbid, recycled polyester or something like that, it's like, okay, where was it before it became this? Like, what was it before that? Did it hold hazardous chemicals? Did it, where was it beforehand? Like, I don't know where this was. So to me, I kind of avoid recycling anything just because I like, what is just a hodgepodge mix of what? I don't know. It's already a mix of chemicals, but probably worse. So
question everything. That's the motto of my life is
yes,
question everything because everything that you thought was helpful, in very big air quotes, we just don't know. You just got to question and see where you land on it because that's
especially when it comes to health. I mean, health is the biggest one that, big pharma has their tentacles in everything. And I mean everything. Media, government, obviously the medical system, schools, they have their tentacles everywhere. They have so much power, it's ridiculous. I think big pharma historically, like the last 50 to 100 years, has probably been the most powerful. But tech is right there too. And when tech and big pharma are working together, we saw that with COVID. So
just watch TV.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing
It's I
more.
mean, yeah. If you watch the news, you watch news, because I'll go to my grandpa's and you see the news or something like that, and or stuff he's watching in the early afternoon. Every other commercial, at least, I mean, at least, I'm not exaggerating, at least every other commercial is some sort of pharmaceutical ad. All of them. And it's always, look at us, we're happy, we're dancing I'm with my family, having a good time. Look at that. You take this drug and you'll feel great too. And it's like, man, I mean, there's a reason us and New Zealand are the only countries that can advertise pharmaceutical drugs. And it works. People go to the doctor and it's like, hey, I saw this commercial about this. And the doctor's like, of course we can give that to you here. And then, next thing you know, you got this side effect, that side effect. And then you get more drugs for those side effects. And it's just this cycle that compounds until, more and more people I'm talking to are fed up. They're like, I don't want any pharmaceutical drugs. I feel like it's destroying my health. And I'm like, it is 100%. And I just try to do my best to give them a natural solution. Because one thing I've learned is you can heal from everything if you are determined enough, if you take it serious enough, if you're doing the right things, you can heal from essentially everything. So, physical, mental, spiritual, and spiritual obviously a big part of it too. people are spiritually, empty, a lot of the rest makes it tough. So yeah, it's all together. It's all connected.
You're so right. You just hit on like probably the biggest, like, let's call it bomb that's hit me in the last couple years is, doing all the health things, still not feeling amazing, spiritual.
Hmm.
Just, didn't want to buy into it thinking like, oh, I got my beliefs, I'm good, right? But yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something definitely. I'm sure you guys talk about it in Chemical Free Body. I'm just curious. I know I could talk to you for hours, Nick. I know folks are probably like, okay, come on. But I do gotta ask, like, with your spiritual practice, it sounds like it's the gratitude and
Mhm.
using all of that to really just connect in. And I know you had mentioned God and you had mentioned different, depending on what someone's beliefs are. But a lot of people roll their eyes at me when I say the gratitude journal and being grateful and finding love and
I,
giving
I
you
I
love.
probably would have too. I probably would have felt the same way years ago. I would have been like, what's that gonna do? I'm gonna write down what I'm grateful for and my goals, like, okay, like they're already in my head. Like, no, especially if you write it down and then say it out loud after. That it's huge. Like you take a mental note of how you feel before you do it and after you do it. It's night and day. I mean, it's very clear. It impacts your brain, or at least whatever we call it brain. It impacts your mental state, 100%.
So huge, so huge, man. The more I dive into it, the more it just keeps getting better, better. And I'm so glad that you guys are talking about that. I know back in the day when I talked to Tim about cancer and all those things, I mean, it definitely has to be at a real point. And I truly believe my mom passed because she couldn't get that part on point. And
A lot.
man,
It happens to a lot of people. A lot of childhood trauma. A lot of people hold on to that. And then you can go into the way deeper thing, like, okay, what are memories? People lose weight, they lose some fat, and all of a sudden this trauma is released from them or something like that. There's so many things about the body we don't like. We think that all thinking and memories and everything's in the brain, but that's not always necessarily true. People that get a heart transplant and all of a sudden they're remembering things from the person that had the heart before and stuff like that. Like there's a much more going on, especially with our bodies, than we can comprehend, I think. I don't think we're totally meant to comprehend it all. I think we just have to, do what we can with it and just realize that everything is connected. Every little action you take has a ripple effect in society. So you just have to do the best you can. Like I've talked to a lot of people, like when I talked about that food security conference, me and another guy were the two big speakers. And the other guy was all systems based. He was, what system we're going to implement, how are we going to make these systems more efficient, and like the big system thing. And mine, it actually worked out totally perfect. Mine was, what can you do as an individual to improve things? What can you do as yourself to be more food secure? So I think there's definitely a combination of both. But I think if you don't start with yourself, if you're out, you're not working on yourself, and you're trying to change the world, change all these systems, and bring down the Federal Reserve and change the government, if you don't start with yourself, if you don't improve your own health, if you don't take yourself out of debt, how are you going to help save everybody else? So, and same with like love. If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love other people? And you really have to start with yourself and not it's so many people see it as selfish. You know, I was told I was selfish for years and I never thought I was that selfish, but I was told it all the time, so I just kind of thought I was selfish, I guess. But it's like no, I put myself first in that sense that if I'm not good, how can I help anybody else? So, and that's been key the last few years is like I can't help somebody unless I've helped myself, and I feel like I help myself. I mean, obviously, everyone can do more, but I know that I've done enough that I can help a lot of people. That's why I'm here on this podcast. That's why I do the job that I do. So, yeah,
just such wisdom in there. Such wisdom there. I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing. I'm glad that you came on and shared your story. And now we have, like I said before, a face with the name. So when you guys reach out to Chemical Free Body for questions or you just have some inquiries, there you go. Nick's there to help you. And microgreens, guys, for my
yep.
Ohio folks, go see Nick. Hit him up.
Or
All
Western
right.
PA. Western PA
Yes,
is
in
kind of
Western
close too.
PA.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I have to think. Yeah, Western PA. It's all right.
Yeah, PA is like, I think it's maybe if I drive about 30-ish minutes east, maybe a little less, maybe like 25 minutes. Because we're in Ohio, we measure everything by minutes, not miles. So it's one of the weird things we do. But yeah, that's sorry, that's how it is. That's how we do it
It,
here.
it's a when you're in the middle of nowhere thing. That's what you do.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
works.
Because it's like you can drive highway and you can get there, it's 10 miles, but you get there quick. But if you can drive 10 miles and all down these side streets, it's going to take longer. So it's just how many minutes does it take? I don't know. It's one of those weird things I didn't realize was a weird thing until people told me it was a weird thing. So I was like, okay, that's fine.
Not at all. It's cool. It's cool. Well, Nick, thank you so much for spending time with me today and let me pick your brain. This is awesome. I'm so
Of
excited
course.
about my microgreens. I am going to give you an update on them and we'll put them
Yeah.
on the screen for you so you can see what they look like.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, fellow health junkie, thanks for listening to the Health Fix podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please help support me to get the word out about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get that word out. Thanks again for listening.